Welcome to the MindBod Adventure Pod, where every week we dive into a different practice, a different perspective on life, and you try it out with us. Join us on Substack at mindbodpod.com to watch this episode as a video podcast. And if you want to support our crazy adventures and get fun perks and exclusives along the way, join us as a paid subscriber. Now, onto this week's adventure.
Rebecca Lee, welcome to the MindBod Adventure Pod. I am Jeff, and with me here is my co-host.
I'm Tasha.
Yeah.
Lovely to be here. Hello. Good meeting you.
Great to meet you. Well, thrilled to have you on. You were recommended through a friend of mine, Dan, who's your student, who said that he's been practicing silent illumination with you, and it's been a huge development in his life. And so I was very excited to get you on and very excited to explore this particular practice. So maybe whatever you want to say to our listeners, about just to sort of introduce yourself and let us know, who you are, or what the lineage is you're coming from, and then a little bit maybe about the practice. And we might ask a few more questions as you do that.
Thank you. Yes, my name is Rebecca Lee, and I am a guiding teacher and the founder of Chan Dharma Community. And I'm a teacher in the lineage of Chan Master Shen Yan, who is my root teacher. And I also had been practicing with and trained with his two lay Dharma successors, John Crook and Simon Chow, who are based in the United Kingdom. And I largely teach meditation retreats in North America and sometimes in Europe when I'm not doing my day job as a sociology professor.
Cool. Where do you do that?
I do that in New Jersey.
In New Jersey. Oh, so you're a sociology professor and a meditation teacher. Mm-hmm. So maybe for listeners who are unfamiliar with Chan Buddhism, can you maybe just orient us a little bit in terms of the origins of that tradition and how it's different from other Buddhist traditions?
Yeah, sure. So I think actually many people are familiar with Zen. So Zen is the Japanese pronunciation of the same character that we call Chan. So Chan Buddhism originated in China. Actually, it is the development of practice taught by the Buddha in China. And so it oftentimes understood as emphasizing the practice of sitting meditation as a way to reconnect with our true nature, our natural capacity for wisdom and compassion. That's the central piece of the Buddha's teaching. And so it was developed around the 6th century in China after bringing together, digesting all the teachings that had been traveling to China from India. And the defining piece of work is what's called the Platform Sutra, attributed to the 6th lineage master Huineng. So after that, his successors practiced in the method that we nowadays know as two main methods. One is silent illumination. The other is in Chinese called Huatou practice. And in Japanese Zen, it's often understood as the practice of koan. So many people will know Dogen, who went to China and actually practiced in the monastery where Master Hongzhi, who is an important teacher of silent illumination, who also was teaching and residing in that monastery. So Dogen brought the practice of silent illumination to Japan. That is the Soto Zen tradition.
Well, maybe could you say a little bit about silent illumination as a practice before you guide us in it? I'm very curious to follow along with your instructions.
Yeah, so silent illumination is also known as the method of no method. So one way to understand is that usually we engage in meditation using a method where we direct our attention to an object of the mind. So for example, the breath. And so we direct our attention to this object in order to collect and settle the mind. But that is the way to help us prepare for the practice of looking into our mind, to penetrate the very subtle levels of our mind. And at some point, we need to transition into the practice. Here, we focus on the practice of silent illumination, where there is no particular object for the mind. And so oftentimes, practitioners find it quite difficult to make that transition. And that's one of the observations I've made through my years of practice. And so a lot of the time, Dharma talks in my silent illumination retreat would be dedicated to helping practitioners find a way to make that transition, to understand that we are engaging in the practice of cultivating this moment to moment total clear awareness of the body mind sitting here in this space without needing to direct the mind to a fixed object of the mind. And sometimes practitioners may misunderstand that as, oh, okay, I'm going to turn inward and just only focus on my thoughts. And that is not it either, because they are blocking out other aspects of the present moment, such as the body experience and what's around us. And some practitioners would think that it is about, okay, I just focus on my body, mind, and then they block out, or like they have kind of just like a blurry sense of what's going on in the environment. That is not silent illumination either. And then some people will hear that, oh, okay, I'm supposed to expand my awareness. So then they direct their attention outward and like maybe really enjoying the bird songs, but then have no idea of what's going on in the body and mind. And so those are common difficulties that practitioners experience in the process of finding the way to connecting with this practice of really just being here, like Master Hongzhi, who said, stay with that just as that. Stay with this just as this, moment after moment. And actually, this is the natural state of our being. But we've forgotten it, and we kind of really have become very habituated to getting in our way of trying to make our mind any particular way with our idea of how the present moment is supposed to be, instead of allowing ourselves to fully connect with the present moment as it is and allow us to really realize truly that everything is interconnected, realizing the Buddha's teaching ourselves is always here for us to see.
Awesome. Shall we take a look together?
Yes, you're speaking our language. Any tips then for people who are going to this practice for the first time? Because you're going to make this transition presumably into more of the silent illumination piece. Anything that could help them?
I think paying attention to the posture of our sitting meditation will be very helpful. Finding a way for us to sit up in an erect posture and relax, and allowing the skeletal structure to do the work of holding up the body so that the muscles can relax. And when the muscles relax, the body relax, the mind can naturally relax as well. Mm-hmm. And that will help a great deal.
And do you recommend eyes open or closed?
It will be helpful if you can do that a little open so that you allow some light in. You're less likely to be drowsy. And if you close your eyes, not to shut it and generating tension around your eyes. So just relaxed. I will take us through a whole body relaxation to be fully embodied. And we begin. Feel the relaxation of the top of the head. Directly experience the subtle sensations of the scalp relaxing as we allow the tension to melt away. And feel the relaxation spread to the forehead, into the eyeballs and eye muscles. Directly experience the subtle sensations of these muscles softening. Allow the tension to melt away. And feel the relaxation spread to the facial muscles. Check to see if we hold tension in some part of our face. And we can give these muscles a vacation. Allow the tension to melt away. And feel the relaxation spread to the entire head, and feel the relaxation spread down to the neck and shoulder muscles. Directly experience the subtle sensations of these muscles softening like melting butter as we allow the tension to melt away, and feel the relaxation spread down the arms, to the forearms, to the fingertips, and feel the relaxation spread to the chest area. Check to see if we hold tension in this area by habit, perhaps from anxiety, sadness, grief, fear. We can give them a rest and allow the tension to melt away, and feel the relaxation spread down the torso, all the way down to the lower abdomen. We often hold a lot of tension in this area by habit. Trust that the skeletal structure can hold up the body. And we can give these muscles a vacation. They don't need to work so hard. And allow the tension to melt away. And feel the relaxation spread to the upper back and down to the lower back and all the way down to the buttocks, where we feel the sensations of the body's weight on our seat, and feel the relaxation spread down the legs and all the way down to the toes. And feel the relaxation of the entire body sitting right here, right now, with this wakeful, clear mind, moment after moment. And if your mind is settled and can stay with this moment to moment clear awareness of the body mind sitting here, and when you notice that the attention is dulling down, you can gently sharpen your awareness. And if you find that your mind is a bit scattered, you can start with a method to settle the mind first before transitioning into just sitting. As we sit right here, right now, we notice the subtle changing sensations of the body breathing, the subtle movements when the diaphragm expands and contracts with every breath. Resting our attention gently on the sensations of these subtle movements to gently anchor our mind to each emerging present moment. We may notice the urge to take over, to control the breath. And we can remind ourselves that the body knows how to breathe. It's been doing so since the moment we were born. So allow the body to breathe. And from time to time, we may notice the mind drifting off, losing contact with the direct experience of the changing sensations of the body breathing. Use that as an opportunity to practice remembering to come back, to reconnect with the subtle changing sensations of the body breathing. There's no need to get frustrated when we notice that the mind has drifted off. In fact, when we notice that the mind has drifted off, that's because we are practicing, that we are aware of what's going on in the mind. It doesn't matter how often or how long the mind drifts off, as long as we find our way back, we are practicing well. And we may also notice thoughts and feelings coming to visit, maybe memories, stories, and when they come to visit, allow them through. They're already part of the present moment. Trying to chase them away or block them out only agitates and tense the mind up unnecessarily. And allow the thoughts and feelings to be fully felt and seen and heard, moment to moment, as they are, without adding anything to it or talking back at them. Stay with what's unfolding as it is, directly experiencing these thoughts and feelings coming through. And when they are ready to move on, allow them to move on. There's no need to be in a hurry to chase them away. All thoughts will move on their own if we are not feeding them. Moment after moment, maintain this total clear awareness of the body-mind sitting in this space. And remember, when you notice your attention dulling down, just gently sharpen your awareness. As we transition from stillness to motion, we move our fingers one by one and rotate our body from small circles into bigger and bigger circles in one direction. Maintain this clear awareness of the changing sensations as the body moves, moment after moment. Notice the urge to allow the mind to scatter. Just because the formal sitting meditation period has ended, you can continue the practice. It's just changing form. Now we're practicing cultivating moment-to-moment clear awareness in motion. And change direction, rotate the body from small circle into bigger and bigger circles in the other direction. It's important to take good care of this transition so that we can take the clarity and stability cultivated in sitting meditation into our daily life lived in motion.
That was such a beautiful opportunity to just sit together. That's kind of just what I wanted to do this afternoon.
Yeah, it was a very familiar practice to me, both the beginning with the relaxation, settling, and then just sort of actually my main practice, just sitting and being and just delicately staying present. but noticing everything that's happening, not in a skippy way, just kind of here in the center. And I found your voice is very soothing.
Oh, yeah.
Actually put me, like, I was up very early with my boys, so I started to feel a little sleepy. So I was glad for the invitation to have the eyes open. And Tasha kind of got me into practicing that way anyway. Just having a bit of light kind of kept things. But occasionally I would drift and notice the sleepiness. But for the most part, it was just this being present. And then, you see your mind going, wow, are we still meditating? Is it going to be a long time? How much more is that going to go? It's like, and then it'll passes through, and there I am. But I did have some other questions that I want to hear Tasha's report.
Yeah. Also a very familiar practice for me. My practice tradition is Dzogchen, which is also very similar to Zen and Chan. And I started in Chan, actually, when I first began, like 20 years ago. And so one thing that I was just kind of noticing is that relaxation is so important. And I'm always stressing it. And every time I guide meditation, I'm trying to like find a way, because I think there's a moment when you're a practitioner where for a lot of people, they think relaxation is the point. Like they'll do relaxation meditations, or they're having a stressful day and so like, oh, I got to get my meditation in, which really for them just means just the relaxation. And I'm always trying to stress relaxation is the doorway. It's like the platform, the foundation, right? Like if you don't have it, it's really hard to go deeper, because you might have these moments of glimpses or moments of openness, but then just the contraction of the body and mind pulls you out of it, right? And so I find like a lot of people are very open to relaxing, but then that's where like the dullness sits in. They're like, okay, I did it. Exactly. I'm relaxed. Bye. And one thing that I really loved about this was just such a perfect kind of marriage between your style and my style for me internally, because your voice was so relaxed. Like I just want to record you and listen to you every single day. It was just it just made me think of like, it doesn't matter how you guide people or what you say to guide people into meditation. It really is like a full body transmission, like you transmit relaxation. You can't just be like, and now release your shoulders and release your arms. It's really like you're modeling it through your entire being as you're teaching somebody how to relax. It comes out in the voice, and it comes out in your demeanor and everything. And it was just, for me, it was just perfect, because I didn't have to try to relax. I just was relaxed. And then on the basis of just being relaxed, I was like, oh yeah, here I am, completely or not even me, just here's awareness, being aware. You're not being like, and now open the aperture of awareness and focus on everything all at once. You're just doing it because of the foundation of full relaxation. So yours was just such an expert example of that for me. It's really beautiful.
Yeah, thank you. It's so lovely to hear your experience and from what you have heard from other practitioners. And I recognize a lot of that. Like Natasha, you said, a lot of time practitioners are okay, like I'm here to get this 15 minutes of relaxation. And I would tell these practitioners exactly like you said, it's the entrance. And also, if all we are looking for is that feeling, the sensation or that experience of openness or relaxation, we may be selling ourselves short. And also, we may be forgetting the path, what the Buddha was teaching, because I find that it's actually very common for practitioners to think of Zen and Chan is something that's like separate from the Dharma. It's like, it's this thing I'm doing Zen. So actually, the practice of Chan and the practice of silent illumination is the realization of the Buddha's teachings. In particular, the realization of the Buddha's teaching articulated in the Four Noble Truths. It is about realizing how we suffer, realizing how we generate the cause of our suffering moment to moment in various different ways. So for example, when Jeff, you were saying how I'm sitting and then I'm here and present. So knowing full well that, okay, not to want anything other than the present moment. Like we know that, but it does not mean that we are not doing that. It does not mean that we are not craving, for example, like what is pleasant. It can be maybe, oh, this is so relaxing and I just want this to be like this. And so if a thought comes up, it's like, hey, it's attacking my relaxation. It's like, that is what's like, I don't want, it's not supposed to be in the present moment. Actually, every moment when these reactivity shows up, this is the opportunity for us to realize the first and second noble truth. What the Buddha was talking about, how the various different ways we are very habituated to resisting the present moment as it is, wanting something other than what is going on, what is right now, and craving for something different. So, knowing that we are not supposed to do that does not mean that we don't do that. And do we know clearly how, in many different ways, we are doing it? Actually, what I have been discovering in my practice in the role of a teacher, as I work with practitioners, when they become quite adept at meditation, sometimes they find that they are maybe stuck. They feel that like, okay, I sit and I don't know how I am making any progress at all. And actually, when we realize that relaxation, it's the entry, but actually that's what allows us to penetrate the deeper layers of our very, very subtle thought habits, a very subtle level reactivity, this very entrenched habit of self-centered attachment. We're not even talking about being selfish. It's like this, like the self being the center of the universe, like orienting everything towards this idea that we call the self. And we do it all day long in many different ways. So the practice of silent illumination is to notice how that shows up. So I call those in my book called like the different modes of operation, like what shows up in our sitting meditation, really how we are going about our meditation practice as a mirror of how we are going about our life. And there are various ways we generate suffering for ourselves. So one common thing that you have alluded to is a practitioner trying to relax. I had a practitioner who was like, okay, I know that's what I'm supposed to do is to relax. So it's like she works very hard to relax. And then she said like she got like more and more tense. And because of the trying. And so when I told her there's no need to try, so she goes, okay, I don't need to try. So she try not to try.
Trying very, very hard not to try.
Yeah, and so this is a good example of the many different ways we get in the way. Like you have shared in your experience, it's just being here as it is, or like Master Hongzhi said, stay with that just as that. But most people find it incredibly difficult to do. And because I need to be involved, I have a better idea of how this moment is supposed to be. And often that shows up in various misunderstanding about what we are doing in meditation. The most common one is like, I'm here to cultivate a mind with nothing going on. You've probably encountered a lot of that. Or if not exactly that, like that is like, so here you said like the entry is relaxation, then practitioners will have an idea in the mind what relaxation is like. And then not what is now, but there's some idea about relaxation or a mind that is calm or that is settled, whatever word you use, then practitioner will find a way to conjure up an image in their mind of what that is about. And then they will go about trying to make their mind that way. And so, like, for example, one most common way is actually what I call trance mode in my book, that they create this fogginess in their mind. And you probably had heard a lot of practitioners doing that. And it's often related to this tendency to fall into drowsiness. That's why in my instruction, I reminded the practitioners a couple of times about like noticing the mind dulling down. So sometimes it's because you're tired, but sometimes it's like, oh, okay, like maybe I tune it down a little bit, then it will feel peaceful, creating this haziness in the mind. And it is motivated by this idea we may not be aware of that, like, oh, meditation is supposed to be this peaceful experience that I'm here to achieve. So let me make the little adjustment to tune down my awareness so that I can feel that peace.
I think one thing that I have noticed too, like in my practice and a lot of what you're talking about is we're really talking about the refinement of motivation, right? Like we come into practice and people have they're motivated, which is great because you can't do these things without, you will fall asleep and you won't return to practice again without some kind of motivation, whether it's, motivation that comes from the Four Noble Truths or from something in your life, whatever. There's this motivation, but that motivation makes you try too hard and it makes you try to, impose your idea of what meditation is. And then you're motivated for relaxation. And so it's like this, the refinement of motivation until it's actually not motivated to do anything. It's just like this this brightness.
Motivated to be.
Yeah, motivated to be. It's like this brightness that keeps you showing up and keeps you just like fine tuning everything, you know. And it's like really, it just gets more and more. Fine.
So true. You're motivated to be until the being doesn't need any
Doesn't
motivation.
need emotion. That's really
because
it's
it's always
it
been there.
Subtler and subtler.
Because it's always been there.
But I always bring that up because people they'll notice how motivated they are and how much they've been pushing for however long.
Yeah.
And then there's the beating themselves up for having done that, which itself is grounded in their motivation of wanting to get it right or wanting to, taste this kind of freedom for themselves, And I'm like, it's good, stay with it, but just refine it and get it.
Exactly.
It becomes more and more delicate. You had a question? Or you had something you were saying?
I was just going to ask, after years, presumably, of doing the silent illumination practice, how would you describe your experience now? If you had to contrast your experience now versus when you first began, whenever that was, how would you characterize the difference?
I guess the easiest way to notice the difference is how I go about what happens in my life. And so years ago, I had this tendency to think that, okay, if this thing happened, it will be so terrible. It will be very difficult. So one example is my father, who passed away suddenly a few months ago. I remember many, many years ago, I would think of that as would be the most devastating thing to happen to me. And when after these years of practice, when it happened, I could feel the sadness, but I was able to stay with that moment as it is, allow the moment of sadness and grief to come and go, and instead of allowing it to completely define my life now. Now I'm like this other person. Like every moment is brand new. And so allowing that to be in this moment and also not be completely overwhelmed by that, so that I was able to work with my family to look after what needs to be done, and went to teacher retreats a week after that, and attend to funeral preparation with my family and go and attend the funeral. And so I think if I had not had the practice, it would have been a very different experience. I may have acted in ways that caused a lot more distress for people around me. And so I would say that would be one way to understand and see the difference. And I have heard that from my students as well.
Wonderful.
That's so relatable to me, your story, especially with losing your father. I kind of count the first time, or like the seed, in this lifetime anyway, of me wanting to practice something. I remember being like 5 or 6, and I was raised by my grandparents who were older than everyone's parents, and they used to always tell me, like, one day we'll be gone, and they were just always very would bring my attention to the fact that they were probably not going to live as long as everyone else's parents and blah, 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 blah. And it used to stress me out. And I would lay in bed trying to figure it out. I'd be like, I'm a smart kid. Like there must be a way that they don't have to die and I don't have to die or something. And I would sit there, and the conclusion that I came to was like, if death is natural and we all have to do it, then there must be a way that it's not sad. Like there must be a way that it's not suffering. And I was like, well, then I have to figure that out because this is going to suck a lot. And so hilariously, knock on wood, my grandparents are still with me. And this is 35 years later. But yeah, that was what propelled me on my path even then without even knowing what that was. But when you brought that up, I was like, that's exactly my taste. I'm like, you can talk about these profound states of awareness and absorption and whatever, but it's like, what is it like in your regular life? Like, how does it make you suffer less and experience joy more?
Yeah, that's why I think that's the most important thing to understand. A lot of people just associate the practice of silent illumination as a sitting meditation method, but actually it is a practice that is how we live. That is how we live our life every moment. So every moment we remember to practice,
Wonderful.
we suffer less.
How fun this was to hang out with you. What a great transmission. So settling and clarifying. And can you share with the listeners any resources or any maybe a website or a link so they can...
And the name of your book?
Yeah, and the name of your book if they want to follow up. And
The name of my book, I don't know if you can see this. All right, so Illumination, a guide to the Buddhist method of no method, that I talked about how to connect the practice of silent illumination with the realization of the Four Noble Truths, and also how to transition from practicing with a method to the method of no method. And also, for me, very important, the path, which is to realize how in various ways we are getting in the way of ourselves. And actually, that is the way itself. That is the path itself. Like every time we notice our entrenched reactivity, wonderful. That means now we have an opportunity to learn how to release these unhelpful habits of suffering. So whatever happens in our meditation, that's opportunity for us to be free from suffering. And not just in sitting meditation, but to bring that into our life so that we can truly bring benefit to others. And also on my website, RebeccaLee.org, that's where I have a lot of my guided meditation. And so I think that's the most popular item on it. And also information about my books, a lot of my Dhamma talks and my writings.
Awesome. We will share that with our listeners.
thank you so much for coming on our show. It was a real pleasure.
Lovely
Thank
to
you.
meet you.
It's lovely practicing with you and hearing you share about your experience. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks for adventuring with us. Pop over to mindbodpod.com and let us know in the comments how this episode landed for you. Don't forget to subscribe for new episodes every week. And if you want to support our crazy adventures, get fun perks and exclusives along the way, join us as a paid subscriber. See you next week.